In this tutorial, I want to show you how to import models into Blender using neotex. First, I'll show you the folder structure I'm using. So let me show you. I have a geo folder with the things I want to import. I have an OBJ file and an FBX file, and I have my textures folder and my import.blend file. So let me just launch Blender with the import.blend. And here we are inside of Blender. First, let me zoom in my text with the control and the mouse wheel, so it's a little bit clearer. And you can see that I've already imported the models I wanted to see. But I want to start from zero, so I'll introduce you to a new word called clean scene. So if I call clean scene, it will clean the scene of models. So let me just run it with F5. And now you can see that my scene is clean up. Next up is the word image clear all, which just deletes all the images from the scene except the HDR images. So if you run this word, nothing will happen because there are no images, but if you have any images, they will need to be reloaded. This is pretty useful when you want to change resolution or when you want to just refresh your scene. And it doesn't delete the HDRs, so you don't have to re-import your environment map. Next up, let me show you the importing words we're going to be using. We have two of those. First one is import-obj pre. The second one is import-fbx pre. One imports the obj and lays a prefix on the mesh. The second one imports an fbx and lays a prefix on the mesh as well. So let me move this to the side, and I have my debugger here. So let me show you what it does. First, I name the mesh name I want to search for. So if I look here in my console, let me show you a file explorer here. I have Geo, and in Geo I have a mesh that says lion serpent, which is our mesh. So it has the word lion in it. And this will search for this word in this mesh and import whatever mesh that contains these words or these characters, and it will add this prefix after it imports it, so we can match it in the selection much more easily. So let me just run my import obj pre, and I wait a second, and here is my mesh. Now if we see here on the side, let me move this a little bit like so. It says low res and then no name set in waveform file. That's because we don't have a group for this. And you may notice that long names in Blender will eventually become a problem. So please make sure that you name your files properly. But for this example, I will just let it like this. Now let's move on to the other. I will comment this part here because I don't want to delete anything, and let me just run the next one. And as you can see, it imported very fast. One thing you have to take in account when importing FBX files is that the FBX has to be a binary format. It can be an ASCII file FBX, so please make sure that you import it in binary. If you try to import an ASCII file, it will say an error and you won't know what happened. So don't try it, it's a Blender thing. And the advantage of the FBX is that you have a color channel. So let me show you here. Let me select this, and it gave me a material, the default material. And if I go here to input vertex colors and CD, which is the color property, and just pipe it, you can see that we have a color property, point color property, which doesn't come with OBJs. Now for the ID color based approach, we'll be having both FBXs and OBJs generating our ID maps, so it's not a problem if you import you don't have an FBX exporter, or if you don't have an binary FBX exporter. so don't worry about that. Or if you haven't set your colors, we will be dealing with that in the ID masking video. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the preferences for our OBJ pre and our FBX pre. First of all, the OBJ will split whatever mesh comes in groups. So if you want to have multiple meshes, you will name them as groups in your DCC app, or it could be here as well in Blender. This doesn't happen with the FBX pre. The default behavior of the FBX is to separate things by color. So it doesn't matter if you group things in your app, it will show up as a one mesh here. So this is a reason why I prefer the OBJ importer, mainly because I usually just name my things. So this will not be a problem unless you have many objects in your scene, but that's why we'll be using the ID color workflow to alleviate some of that. So that's pretty much for this video. I'll see you in the next one.